other one is educational psychology. It is an applied science. It is the application of psychological principles in the field of education. By applying the principles and techniques of psychology, it tries to study the behavior and experience of pupils. The other one, educational psychology, is a developing or growing science. It is concerned with new and ever new research. As research findings accumulate, educational psychologists get better insight into the child's nature and behavior. Therefore, educational psychology is an applied, positive, social, specific, and practical science, while general science deals with behavior of the individuals in various spheres. Educational psychology studies the behavior of the individual in the educational sphere. Now here, I want to mention you about the laws of educational psychology. That they say that they are universal. Now, here, educational psychology possesses a well-organized, systematic, and universally accepted body of facts, supported by the relevant psychological laws and principles, and now scientific methods. Educational psychology employs scientific methods and adopts a scientific approach for studying the learner's behavior, such as observation, experimentation, clinical investigation, and generalization, etc. Constant search of the truth. The other point. The result of any study in educational psychology can be challenged and modified or altered in terms of the latest explanations and findings. So the findings of any study are never taken as absolute and permanent. Reliability. Educational psychology doesn't accept hearsay and not take anything for granted. It emphasizes that essentially there is some definite causes linked with the behavior, and the causes of this behavior are not related to supernatural phenomena. Yes, it's true, related, not related to supernatural phenomena. Positive science. Educational psychology is a positive science rather than a normative science. And it's one of the points make a difference. Applied behavioral science. Educational psychology is an applied behavioral science. Developing positive science. Educational psychology cannot claim a status of a developed positive science like other natural or applied sciences. I should mention it. Here, I will talk to you about the objectives of educational psychology. The general objectives of educational psychology are, as I said, the first one is to provide a body of facts and methods which can be used in solving teaching problems. The second one is to develop a scientific and problem-solving attitude. And the third and last one is to train in thinking psychologically about educational problems. Here, I want to talk to you and compare education with school. Compare these both. And knowing the similarities and differences between them, it's a very important matter. Even though schooling is frequently misidentified as education, there is much difference between education and schooling. For example, the term education encompasses basically two meanings. They are formal and informal ways of gaining knowledge, while schooling stands for the initial and secondary stages of formal education system that take place in school, just in school. Education, as mentioned above, can take place not only through informal ways, such as learning from peers, life experiences, by reading or learning things through online sources, but also through formal means. For instance, through educational institutions, like schools, universities, or even training colleges. Thus, it becomes clear schooling in one branch of formal education in the wide arena of education. Here, I mention you teaching objectives of educational psychology. I want to talk to you about the objectives of educational psychology in 6 steps, 6 titles. 1. To develop an understanding of the dietary and environmental factors, which underlie learning ability. Second one, provide base for understanding the nature and principles of learning and to supply the techniques for its improvement. Third one is to understand and appreciate the factors influencing individual ability to learn. The fourth one is to provide understanding of the external factors like training aids, libraries, classrooms, which are largely within the control of the teacher and the institution. To evaluate teaching efficiency. And the last one is to develop an appreciation of the individual importance of the individual with their individual differences. Here, I have emphasis on the word individual. We will talk about it later, why I did this. Now, the scope of education psychology. What's the scope of education psychology? The scope of education psychology tells us the areas of education. In other words, it can be called the subject matter of educational psychology. First part is human behavior. That studies human behavior in the educational context. Psychology is the study of behavior, and education aims at modification of behavior. So, the influence of educational psychology has to be reflected in all aspects of education. The second one is growth and development. It studies the principles governing growth and development. The insight provided by the students that will help in scientifically planning and executing learning-oriented programs in education. And these programs are very important as the learner-oriented. The learner. The subject matter of educational psychology is neither around the learner. Therefore, the need of knowing the learner and the techniques of knowing him or her well. We should know him or her as well and as much as possible. The topics include the innate abilities and capacities of the individual differences and their measurements, the overt, covert, conscious as well as unconscious behavior of the learner, characteristics of his growth and development in each stage beginning from childhood to adulthood. It's a continuous stage. The fourth one is the learning experiences. Educational psychology helps in deciding what learning experiences are desirable at what stage of the growth, development of the learner, so that these experiences can be acquired with a greater ease and satisfaction. The fifth number is learning process. Here we are going to be, all of the things are going to be applied. After knowing the learner and deciding what learning experiences are to be provided, educational psychology moves on the laws, principles, and theories of learning. other items in the learning process of remembering and forgetting, perceiving, concept formation, thinking and reasoning, problem solving, transfer of learning, ways and means of effective learning, and etc.